Okay, so we're now live.
Good evening, everyone. We'd like to invite and welcome those who are joining tonight for the public information session for Project 102-366, which is the West Cedar Street Bridge replacement. Tonight we have the project team, which consists of the City of Norwalk, and we'll allow everyone to introduce themselves as we progress through the presentation. But the initial project team consists of the City of Norwalk, Alfred Benish and Company, who is the prime consultant for the bridge design, Connecticut Department of Transportation, and their prime consultant or liaison, also known as Close, Jensen and Miller, or CJM. Just to give a little bit of background and context, the West Cedar Street Bridge, is located on West Cedar Street and traverses and travels over the 5 Mile River. This project is an 80%, 20% funding match, meaning that it's 80% funded from the federal government and 20% funded by city or local funds. This is part of a federal bridge replacement program in which the funds, again, originate at the federal level, but where the state's involved is that it's administered by the state. So the funds are allocated at the federal level, but the program itself is administered by the state, in this case, the Connecticut Department of Transportation. Without getting into too much technicality, a broad brush overview of the project and the purpose of the project is to correct deficiencies with the existing bridge. And the two main deficiencies you'll see as we progress through this presentation relate to the roadway being too narrow, or better known as functionally obsolete, and also the age of the bridge. The original bridge that's currently in place was constructed in 1910, which lends it to be about 110 years old. And at this point, there's a lot of issues with the bridge, structurally, vertical alignment, width. I mean, there's a lot of different engineering factors that need to be up to date to today's standards. So the bridge has reached its useful life, and in the interest of protecting public safety and welfare, the city has undertook this federal bridge replacement project in consultation with those named above. Without any further ado, I will pass it on to another City of Norwalk engineering staff team member, Vanessa Valdez, and she's also a principal engineer for the engineering department.
Thanks, Anthony. So good evening, everyone. So today what we are hosting is a public hearing, so everyone can learn about our project and also share your comments and concerns. After the meeting, after the presentation first, we're gonna have a good almost hour open for questions that we'll try to address now. Also, if you have any further comments, at the end of the presentation, I'm gonna see Paul Sotnick, that is one of my colleagues here. He's a senior engineer. He'll be sharing his email on the screen, and you can reach out to him the next week with any further questions that you have, and we're gonna address that. So the main goal of the public hearing is not only to share where we are with the design, but also to hear what will be the concerns and the input from the public so we can finalize the design. So I'm gonna pass now to Benesh, that is the design consultant from us. And I believe that they're gonna, Rick Mears will be the one, or maybe Stephen, that will be doing the presentation. And again, after the presentation, we're gonna open for the public to comment. The way that we do through Zoom is you have the option to raise your hand on your computer, and then we're gonna allow you in so you can ask your question. The only thing that I would like you to do is please state your name and your address before you ask any questions, okay? So without any further delay, I'll pass to Rick and we'll start our presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Vanessa. Let me go ahead and share the screen here. Make sure everybody can see it. All right, can everybody see that? Yep.
Yes.
All right, so Anthony and Vanessa already talked about the project team, so I won't go into detail about this. So I'll click through these first couple of slides here. So the existing site, I think everybody knows where it is, but for some context, Norwalk Community College is up here to the top right side. A 5 Mile River is here, West Cedar Street and Beechwood Street, and then the bridge is right here in the middle. And then as Anthony noted, the bridge you can see in this overall aerial here where the roadway on each side of the bridge is actually wider than the bridge. So there's a narrowing down that occurs, and the bridge kind of acts as almost a one-way alternating bridge. So our overall goals, Anthony touched on this a little bit. I'll go into a little bit more detail. We want to correct deficiencies, functionally obsolete. The roadway is essentially too narrow. And structural condition. The bridge is built in 1910. So those are the main goals. And then the other ancillary goals are we want to improve the multimodal traffic flow at the bridge. So we want vehicles, pedestrians, and bicyclists to be able to flow through the bridge more easily. We want to maintain and enhance safety at the bridge crossing and also meet those local, state, and federal design requirements that obviously weren't in place in 1910. So going through some existing bridge data just for context here, the bridge sees about 5,000 vehicles per day. And we just took some recent counts on the bridge that we're in post-processing right now of analyzing to see if those 4,000 or roughly 5,000 vehicles per day is still accurate. The existing bridge is about 23 feet wide. That includes a 18-foot 10 curb-to-curb roadway width and a 5-foot sidewalk that's cantilevered off the south side that you can see in the two images on the left. And to avoid that functional obsolescence that we talked about, we should be at 28 feet. So because of that, the current rating on a scale of 0 to 9 is a 2. So it's definitely on the low end of the spectrum there. Then our approach roadway alignment, we talk about the narrowing down. Because of that, it's currently rated as a 3 on a scale of 0 to 9. And then also a substandard vertical profile. So what that means is for the speeds that are required on the roadway, there's too steep of a profile at this time. And I'll talk about that more later. And the existing bridge length, it's about 28 feet for the span length. So here's some pictures on the roadway level. You can see the roadway narrows on each side just for context, so we have some limited width. Then from a structural condition, again, it's built in 1910, and due to that, it's eligible for the National Historic Register. The superstructure, which is classified as the arch itself, it's a masonry arch bridge, is rated a 6 in satisfactory condition, but you can see that there's some white hues to it, and I'll touch on what that means in the next slide. And then the substructure, which is everything below the arch and around the arch, any of those walls you see like on the bottom right photo, are rated as a 5 in fair condition on a scale of 0 to 9. Hydraulically, the bridge fails to pass the 10-year design storm, the 50-year design storm, and the 100-year design storm. So what that tells us is that the existing hydraulic opening, or essentially the opening that the river flows through, is too small to pass the required design storm. And based on the size of the river, we need to pass the 100-year design storm. The bridge is also considered scour critical, and what that means is during these design storm events, when water flows through the channel, it can erode some of the material on each side of the arch, and as it erodes that channel bed material, it can expose enough of the bridge where it becomes unstable. So it's something that on a newer design, you design so the bridge isn't scour critical. So we touched on those little white areas on the previous picture, and you can see them here. On the picture on the left, you can see some white areas here, and then on the other side, you can see some white areas scattered around. What that is we put salts on the road. That salt acts with, in this case, mortar, and it creates a chemical reaction, which creates a corrosive environment. This is mortar here, so it's not as big of a deal, but essentially it starts deteriorating the mortar, and it creates a structural issue over time. Hydraulics, this picture on the left, we are in a FEMA floodway. The bridge is located right about here, right in the center. And then you can see a picture on the bottom right of what the span looks like. And we know from a hydraulic standpoint that we essentially need a larger opening. So that means a longer bridge. And then historic considerations, we've all mentioned bridge was built in 1910. There's a nameplate on the bridge right now. And what we look to do during construction and also during the design phase is salvage this nameplate. We've talked to the city, and there's a desire to save this nameplate and potentially give it to the historical society. So we'll put salvage a notice to contractor and specifications in the contract to make sure that this is salvaged and delivered to wherever the city deems it fit. So with all that existing information, what we did is we've gone through an alternatives assessment. We created 3 alternates, and I'll go through each of them here. But what we really want to do is take all that previous information and try to come up with the best solution. We know there's an arch to begin with. It's built in 1910, so there's some historical context. There's a masonry look to it. So how can we pull those elements together to give a bridge that is in keeping with the existing as much as possible? So our first alternate here is a precast concrete arch with stone masonry facing. Now what that means is this bottom portion is a precast concrete reinforced arch, like similar to a contact or an old castle fabrication, will be delivered to the site. And then all these walls around are a reinforced concrete wall. But what we'll do is we can take the existing stone on the site, cut it, and attach it to the reinforced concrete to give the look of the existing bridge, but with the structural integrity of reinforced concrete. So this particular span, we would need to increase you can see this clear span number down here. We need to increase the span of the bridge from the 28 feet to 37 feet to make that happen. Our next alternate is a precast rigid frame. So you can see a more squared off opening, maybe not as aesthetically pleasing as an arch. And for this alternate, instead of a 37 feet, we can go with a 30 foot clear span. And then lastly, a precast adjacent box beam alternate, which looks similar to the previous alternate, but essentially reinforced concrete beams placed one next to another. And again, it's a more squared off opening compared to an arch. So once we weigh the advantages and disadvantages of each alternate in costs associated with that and constructability for the site, we ultimately ended up landing with discussions with the city that an arch is likely the best option for the site. So what I'll do here is it's an overall plan view marked up for some impacts and limits of the construction area. So we anticipate the overall project construction being about 800 feet, starting from the left side of the page here to the right side of the page. And the roadway will be widened. And it's really just to match what the existing roadway is on either side and meet those new design criteria. There's a sidewalk on the south side that you can see in light gray that will install and match in with the existing off the bridge. Some new drainage outlets. There's existing ones down there right now, but we'll replace those existing. And then reconstruct, there's 3 driveways here, reconstruct the front entrances to these driveways. And the reason we need to do that is because we're raising the profile up on the roadway to accommodate the newer design standards. And then in this light pink, we anticipate relocating some overhead utility wires, either in a temporary or a permanent fashion. And we're coordinating with the utility companies currently to come up with a final scheme for that. So this picture here is a vertical profile of the road. So if you can imagine driving along the road, this light blue line is the existing ground. And then the brown line coming across it is the proposed ground. So at its maximum, which is over here on the right side, we're raising the roadway about a foot and a half. And what that allows us to do is 2 things. It helps us slightly with our hydraulic opening, as well as with just the design speed for the area. And then here's what the precast concrete arch will at least look like with a color representation. And what I'll do is I'll talk about this briefly, and on the next couple of slides, we have some good samples of where we've done things like this recently. In keeping with the area, we've proposed steel back timber guide rail, which is a fancier term for similar to what you have out there and similar to what's on the Merritt Parkway, but with today's standards. And then the precast concrete arch, and then here's the walls I talked about with the stone veneer. From a cross-section standpoint, we have 11-foot lanes with 3-foot shoulders, and the 11-foot lanes are shared with the bicyclists. And then we have a 5-foot sidewalk. And the next two slides are similar projects where we've done this before, and you can really see, I mean, it's a great result at the end. So this top left picture is before. You can see some timber rail up top, or I think it's concrete rail rather up top. And then what we do is on this particular project, we removed everything with the exception of the reinforced concrete arch that was in place. And we took all the stone down, built up new reinforced concrete walls. And you can see the guy on this top right, he's actually, he has cut some of the existing stone in creating a veneer, and you can see the reinforced concrete wall behind it. And then on the bottom right is the final condition. So you can really see the historic character from the beginning to the end really matches with a brand new bridge. And then here's a project that last day of construction is actually tomorrow as we're wrapping up some guide rail, where this was a sole access roadway to about 15 to 20 residential homes. And we're able to work with the residents to find a great time for them to close the roadway down to reconstruct this bridge. And we disassembled pieces, put it back together. And you can see on this bottom left, we installed mortar joint the length of the bridge to really bring it back to its original historical character. And then unfortunately, a lot of projects, they have property impacts, and we're going to do our best to minimize those. There's one taking on this project, but luckily the taking is going to be within is anticipated to be within Norwalk Community College, which is state property anyways. So it's just within this area to the northeast that we anticipate some takings. The rest of the areas, we anticipate some temporary construction easements, some easements for supports of slope to allow for that raise in the profile. And then down here on either side of the bridge where the drainage is, we anticipate some drainage easements to allow for that drainage to occur. There's already drainage there, but there's no easements there currently. So we would need to accommodate that in the final condition. From a cost and schedule standpoint, we talked earlier, 20%. The anticipated construction cost right now is just under $4 million. So where are we in the process? We've gone through preliminary engineering when we started in January, so 10 short months ago. Now we're in preliminary design as we're doing the public information meeting and refining some of our design and soliciting feedback from the public, and then we'll get that feedback and transition into final design in the beginning of the new year. And the idea is in the fall of 2021, we'll go to advertising and award, enter construction in spring of 2022, and then do some utility relocation at the start of the project, and we'll have a vehicular detour and a temporary pedestrian restriction. And I'll talk about that on the upcoming slides. And then we anticipate construction to be completed in the fall of 2022. So a one-season construction job. For MPT, I mentioned the detour. The detour is about 1.8 miles. We anticipate a 5 to 6 minute delay for the commuting traffic. We're going to do the detour during the summer months, so when there's less volume, so June to August when school's out of session. And then for pedestrian accommodation, We're going to accommodate pedestrians throughout most phases of construction, but there's going to be limited windows where it's just not feasible. And those are going to be when we're removing the existing superstructure and we have some larger cranes or larger equipment out there and pedestrians just shouldn't be that close. Or when we're installing and relocating cofferdams, which are big sheets of metal that we're driving in order to allow for the construction of the new bridge. So that pedestrian accommodation will happen via a temporary pedestrian bridge. And then with that, I'd like to turn it back over for any questions that people may have.
Thanks, Rick. So again, we can leave that slide on the screen so people can write down all the information that is needed if they need to contact us. So again, all questions should be directed to Paul Sopnick, and we're gonna get those questions and pass to the design team. I just want to emphasize before we open for questions that the city is very aware about the historic component of this bridge, and that has a lot of weight when we decided which design consultant we want to hire. And Benesh was brought on board particularly because of the experience that they have with similar bridges. Also, we share our concerns with DOT that we would only replace this bridge if they could also support us in having that arch design with the stone veneer that usually it is not part of the federal bridge program. But we have already received their support, and that's why we can commit and move forward with this project. So unless if there's someone from our team that want to add something else, I'm happy to open to questions.
We have two people with the hand raised. Should I just go based on the order?
Sure, please. So again, when you come in, just state your name, please, and your address.
Okay, I think this is Fred. Fred, can you hear us?
Yes, can you hear me? Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, Fred.
Yes, hi, this is Fred Wilms, and I live at 6 Westview Lane in Norwalk. I'm very happy about alternate A, the stone masonry, the facing. I think it's very much in keeping with the historical and aesthetic character of the neighborhood. I just have two questions. One is the current bridge, which is narrower, as you point out, does act in a way as a traffic calming or a speed reducing effect. And certainly traffic around NCC on Richards Avenue and then West Cedar, you know, some of the drivers go very fast. But the new bridge, what impact do you think it would have with the traffic speed?
Rick, do you want to answer that, or would you like that I answer?
I can answer it. So the design speed that we're designing the roadway to is 25 miles per hour, which is for a residential neighborhood. So we're not looking to make this road faster and have trucks barreling through here. So we're keeping the design speed low for a comfort level, because we know it's a residential neighborhood. You don't want people going fast through here. The Norwalk community side of the road, as you get closer and closer to the community college, the road's a little bit wider there than will be at the bridge. So I think there'll still be some traffic calming there.
Mm-hmm. And then one last question. I like the detour where you move folks down to Connecticut Avenue. However, when they come up West Norwalk Road, the bottom part of that's in the town of Darien, and I take it that you'll coordinate with Darien so they're agreeable to the detour there?
Yes, actually we have the Director of Public Works attending this meeting as well, so he's aware that the detour will go through Darien. And part of our proposal, we're gonna have a temporary signal at the corner of, what is the street, Rick? Sorry, and Post Road?
I believe it's West Norwalk Road and Route 1. So
Right.
So
we haven't finalized the design there, but also to help with the traffic, We believe that we are waiting for the final numbers to come in, but we're gonna put probably a temporary lighting there to be able to help with the detour.
Okay. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred.
Okay, so, and we have George now. George, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, George.
Okay. My name is George Eichen. I live on Beechwood Road, virtually a couple hundred feet from the bridge. Just by way of background, I mean, I've gone over that bridge thousands of times over many years, and I've never really seen much of a problem from a traffic point of view. I, of course, recognize engineering that maybe it needs to be updated, of course. But I, like the prior gentleman, I'm concerned about the speed. Cars coming down from Richards Avenue, the bridge slows them down. If there's nothing to slow them down, it doesn't matter if, with all due respect, if you put up a sign 25 miles an hour, you know, people don't pay attention to that, unfortunately. So I'm concerned that they'll just steamroll right over the bridge. If there's no speed bump or some kind of road surface to make them slow down, they'll just zoom right across the bridge over to West Norwalk Road. So I think that's something that you should really consider. From an aesthetic point of view, if I heard it correctly, the bridge will have side rails that are of metal of some kind. Is that correct?
No, that is not correct. On the roadway level, and I'll go to a cross section here for you. On the roadway level, you're gonna see a reinforced, or you're just gonna see stone veneer at the roadway level.
So going over the bridge, you'll see on either side, it'll be the veneer on the inside.
Yeah. So like this elevation that's shown on the screen, you'll essentially see, this is what you'll see on the side of the bridge.
Yeah, but that's on the outside. What about on the inside? Is there a,
No, so
it's all that veneer?
It's a solid wall with veneer on both sides.
Okay, good. Then also, our little neighborhood over here has had problems with parking. It's gotten a little better because about a year ago, we asked to put up no parking during the afternoon. But I'm concerned is it's going to start with a new problem, because people that usually park on West Cedar will now be unable to park there because the road will be widened, and then they're going to start infringing on our neighborhood again. So just something else to think about. That's my questions and comments.
We are not planning to do any change to parking. Again, if parking becomes a problem after the bridge is built, we can always reassess and see what else we can do. But as of now, there's not much of a widening of the road itself. We are just more widening the bridge and then the approaches, but the road prior to it doesn't get wider to the point that will allow parking. Also, we're gonna add the sharrows for the bike, and that also helps people to understand that there is no parking there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, George.
Okay, so Vanessa, if you look at the Q&A, there's also a question that was typed in from Eli Stone. I don't know if he wants to talk, or you just want to read the question and answer it.
I can read, thanks. So there's a question from Eli Stone. I don't have his address, but it says, we have a concern with the increased number of Kiars who need to make the left turn onto Route 1 from West Norwalk Road. This is already a problem and holds up traffic turning right. Has the city figured out how to handle this? So I believe we already answered that because we're trying to implement a temporary traffic light there, at least while the detour is being implemented. That's why we're doing all the traffic analysis so we can show DOT, because that's a DOT road, that will need that temporary light to alleviate the traffic.
Okay, and then we have a panelist with a question who I saw before this next one.
Sure.
Lisa Shanahan, I don't know.
Yes, I think I'm unmuted. I have a question concerning, I believe that this bridge goes over Norwalk Land Trust property, and I'm wondering what kind of mitigation is being done for this very sensitive environmental property.
So the only spots that we are anticipating impacting the Norwalk Land Trust area are areas where there's already existing drainage there. So let me go to this first photo. So on the south side of the bridge, there's this drainage area. So we're replacing those, and then we'll have the temporary bridge we try to tighten it as close to as possible to it. But in the final condition, the area is going to be restored back to its original condition. So we're trying to minimize as much as possible any impact to it.
So there'll be silt collection and things like that.
Yep.
And
Go
I
ahead.
know that the Norwalk Land Trust is going to want to contact you because I reached out to representatives today, but they weren't able to make the call.
Mhm.
Who should I have them direct their questions to?
To Paul, please, Lisa.
Well,
I will take the calls, yes. And also, I just want to clarify that we still have to permit for this bridge. So it's not that we're just going to go for the design and then we're ready to hit construction. We have to go through a very long process of permitting, and that's why we believe that we're only going to be able to bid this project by the end of next year, particularly because of the permit process. So we're going to do everything that is required by law to meet all the environmental requests.
great. Thank you so much. I also just want to agree that I like the traffic calming of the narrow part of the bridge. I know this area very well. It's in our district and we've walked a lot. So I do recognize the concerns of the neighborhood about speeding through there.
Okay, we have Ken from the public who wants to speak. Ken, can you hear us?
I have to unmute. Hi, I'm Ken Diorenzo, and I'm a resident on the 5 Mile River. I'm also the vice president of the West Norwalk Association. First, a comment. It's great that you're addressing the width and the height of the bridge, because when the 5 Mile River floods, it really floods. And I'm hoping that Alexis Cherisetti is involved as far as whatever environmental issues are going to be occurring during the bridge building. The other thing, Fred addressed it a little bit, and so did Lisa, is we've been having some traffic issues within West Norwalk. And I can absolutely 100% predict that if West Cedar is closed, they're not just going to go down to US 1, they'll be going across Philo Street and down Richards Avenue as an alternate route. So it may be something that you guys raise some awareness to.
Thanks,
But,
Ken.
yeah, I really like the
that.
design. I think you did a great job.
Oh, thanks for letting us know. So in regards to the detour, we have to have established the tour is required so we can do the closure. And also the detour has to go through some of the roads that really can have capacity to take the extra vehicle that we're gonna put on. So that's why we show the detour. We do understand that some of the local people would not gonna use the detour, but the signs will direct everyone to go through what we're showing as the pink area there.
What we would really like is, we have a database. We communicate with the West Norwalk neighbors. And as this is occurring, if you could share that, if you could share that with Lisa and Tom, we should be able to get that to our residents, because if they know what's
Definitely.
going on, we would appreciate that.
Definitely. We have been
Thank
doing
you.
a couple of projects also in different areas, and we usually
Right.
try to lead the association. So we know that you guys are the best
Great, thank you.
way to pass the information. So if you can also maybe send your contact to Paul Sotnick, so
Sure.
he'll have, so that will be great, because if there is anything else that we'll know that
Yeah.
will impact the area, we can send it to you.
Yeah, it's very easy. It's board@westnorwalk.org, and the entire group will get that. So that would be not every West Norwalk resident, just the board of directors. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Ken, I've done a lot of work with Game McLeod over the years, so I've worked with the West
Thanks, Paul.
Norwalk Association before, so I've got some of the
Great.
contact info.
Great. I'm sure you've been working, with Anthony. Great. Thanks. I'm done.
Hey,
Thank you.
Vanessa, it's Tom. If I could just add into that, because Lisa and I work with Ken and the West Norwalk Association, and as he pointed out, traffic really has been an issue there. And what really hurts is, you make one change and then Waze comes in and directs people other ways. So even if they can notify the neighbors all they want, but Waze may direct people on these other routes. So we need to be cognizant of that as we're thinking about the detours.
We can also try to, nowadays, although sometimes it takes some time, by the time that we usually, when we have major closures, we try to notify Google Maps and Waze. And also we push our detour map to them so they can use. Sometimes there is a little delay. We have been doing this when we have the major projects regarding to the walk bridge. Unfortunately, by the time that they start doing that, we are open again, but we try.
Well, that's great to try. Thank you.
Yes.
I have Roger Silver. Roger, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Roger Silva, West Norwalk Road. Just want to say thank you guys for taking on this project. I think it's an initiative that has been needed for some time. I drive over that bridge almost every day, and it's a great route, but it is very, very busy. I like the design that you've proposed. That first design, I think, looks great. Here's my concern. And as mentioned, the current bridge does tend to slow traffic down, and that's extremely important because people do fly down the road, especially when the college is in session. There's certainly more cars in the area. My concern with the new bridge, and just something that maybe you can consider, is currently, I think the size of the bridge and the narrow of the bridge may limit some of the heavy trucks from using that route and bringing trucks down West Norwalk Road, or vice versa. My question to you is, will the new bridge have some kind of a weight limit that may prevent some of this heavy traffic from coming down that bridge, or even coming and towards West Norwalk Road?
Rick, do you want that I take that one, or you want to answer?
So I can take the beginning of it from a structural standpoint. I don't think we're going to limit it from a structural standpoint, just in case a truck does go down there. You just don't want that to happen. But from a signage standpoint, Vanessa, if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, we can consider that as one of the comments, if we should put as a no truck through, but for us to put just a sign up there are a lot of considerations that we need to take. But we hear your comment, and we're gonna make note of it. Sometimes what happens is that if we put no through traffic, we have also trucks that needs to get to that area, and then they were not going to be able to.
It seems like over the past few years, it's become such a big cut through between the Post Road and say New Canaan or Darien, and a lot of construction trucks are coming down this road. Heavy trucks, I'm talking 10-wheelers, sometimes 18-wheelers are coming down this road, and it's a pretty small road or narrow road. for such large vehicles to come down. So if it's something that one can consider, maybe even putting some kind of a weight limit on their bridge or something like that, that would maybe help to keep some of those heavy traffic from coming down the road. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
I don't see anyone else. Yeah, I think that's it, Vanessa.
Okay. So Ed, do you have any comments?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, no, I have some comments, but they're all good comments. You guys kind of hit the points that the town at Darien. But first, I want to thank you for inviting us in to listen to this. I'm sorry that Jamie couldn't be with us tonight, but I congratulate you on the timing of it, June to August. That's a perfect time to try to do this detour. That's basically our biggest concern with sending that traffic down West Norwalk Road to the Post Road. And we did talk about previously the traffic signal proposal for this detour as a temporary signal. I think that's critical to this detour and critical to your project. I'm glad that you're getting on this early. Hopefully the DOT will see the advantage of having it there. If there's anything the town of Darien can do to support that application, please let us know. But other than that, great presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ed. We'll let you know as soon as we have the design finalized and how the detour will work, and if we had enough numbers to get that temporary signal, we'll keep you informed.
Hey, Vanessa, if I could, it's Tom Livingston again. Could you let people know if there's a deadline for getting comments to Paul, and then maybe if there will be another hearing or what the next step is? I know you gave the timetable earlier, but I'm
Sure, I'm happy to share again. So we're gonna leave the questions open for another week. So we have Paul's contact on the screen. Not anymore, but Rick is getting back. But again, if you guys even want to reach out to us, if you go to the City of Norwalk website, if you go to engineering, you're going to find my name there with all my phone numbers and also Paul's. Feel free to contact us. So we're going to leave it open for another week so people can really digest and see if they have any further comments. And then we're going to send everything back to the designers and DOT so they can see what is the biggest concern that the residents have. There will not going to be any other public hearing. We don't feel that there is a need for it. So what will happen is the design we're going to now develop, but it will not divert much from what you guys already saw. We just really need to finalize and add some of the comments that we receive. Unless if there is any major changes, then we may hold and we may need to host another one. But as of now, we don't have in our schedule. Anybody else?
No, Vanessa, yes. I'd like to thank the project team too, especially you for taking the lead, Paul Sotnick, Mayor and Common Council for approving our portion, our match, which is in the approved capital improvement program. So kudos to all of you and thank you for your support for all the capital infrastructure. Ricky, you and your team, very well done presentation. We appreciate the diligence and the thoroughness and the transparency. It's good when people see these projects up front. They understand what to expect. And at the end of the day, we will work to accommodate any of the residents or any of the impacts of the construction. I mean, construction's construction. It's by definition a disruption, but it'll definitely be a betterment for the city of Norwalk and the residents. So thank you, everybody, for your efforts. And we look forward to the successful design and collaboration with the Connecticut DOT. So thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. I think that if nobody else has anything else, we're going to close this session. And again, any further questions, feel free to reach out to us. So Paul's email is on the screen. And if not, you can go again to our website and feel free to reach out and we'll get back to you. Thanks again for everybody's time. We wish this, I think that went well considering that is a Zoom public hearing. The last time that I did a bridge one was live. Unfortunately, we still cannot do those, but hopefully we'll resume that soon enough. Thanks again, everybody. If anyone has any further questions, just let me know. If not, we're gonna finish now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Lisa, for attending. Dominique, everybody else from the Common Council, and to everybody else, have a very nice night. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Take
appreciate it.
care.
You.
Good
Have a
night.
good night.
everybody.